Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gabriel, and welcome once again to another episode of the Rip Roaring Reds. You're joining us 24 hours removed from Arsenal's 0-0 draw in Italy. It's a big Champions League night, and it was a bit of a whimper. If it's your first time joining us, please do give the channel a subscribe. Please do give this a video a like, and please do leave in the comments what you thought about this game. Before we get into all of that, Jace, how the devil are you?
Well, it's the weekend, right? It's weird. We played a European game last night on a Thursday, and now it's the weekend. And we're playing City in less than 48 hours. This is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. It just feels so weird. Are we in the Europa League? Was that what we watched?
A little bit of horrible memories.
It felt Europa League-y, to be perfectly honest with you. So I just want to check. Can you tell me?
Yourself? Is it real? Yeah, I think it is. Maybe it did feel a bit Europa-y.
Yeah, I'm definitely. The club definitely gave me Champions League badges on my Saliba shirt. So I'm almost wondering if they've made a mess up. That was all.
Checking. No, I don't have it.
Yeah, but yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's the. I'm glad you're well.
How are you?
I'm well too. I think I've recovered a little bit. Not that, like you say, I felt this game felt a bit Europa League-y. It felt a bit of a damp squib. It felt a bit, I don't know, like a bit of a letdown. And maybe that is partly to do with everything that's going on. I'm sure we're going to get into it. But you know what? You're right. It is Friday. The weekend's ahead. We've got a load of other football games before we get to ours. So we don't have to stew on any wins, losses, or otherwise. 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday. So there's that to look forward to, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hate. I hate playing last, to be perfectly honest with you.
I hate playing first.
I'm like, because you see all the other results and you're like, oh, Liverpool win. It's like, for fuck's sake, we got to try and beat City now. And like that, yeah. So I'd rather just have it earlier. But,
all right. Well, let's get started then. I you know what? I want to just get into this first and foremost with a Rip Roaring review, because I want to talk a little bit about where my head's at. I want to, if knowing the news that we know now about Showdegaard and kind of where we were at with Declan Rice's red card leading into the Spurs game, if you had have said to me that we beat Spurs, we draw away from home with Atalanta, and we've come through that game unscathed, we've got fresh players back, albeit we'll probably get into it. They don't seem that great. But we have a pretty good, semi-good squad, barring the central midfield position. I probably would have been like, I'll take it. And I'll take that to a City game that's coming up where it's all to play for. And just to kind of end on why I'm somewhat excited by that game, because I think we've got plenty in the tank to be able to do them. I also think that Arteta has shown his ability to adapt this Arsenal team to various different ways of playing in different oppositions. Whether or not he sets up again, and I'm sure he might play that clip of Rodri when they won the league last season that basically said, it's all in the head. It's all about mentality. And when they came here to play at the Etihad, they played for a draw, and that's what they got. If I was Arteta, it's the first thing I'm showing them before we go into that game, to basically set a fire underneath them to go to the Etihad, get those 3 points, and hopefully beat Man City. And I boiled up through that, Jace. I boiled up through it. I'm now even believing it myself. Are you feeling it or not? Tell me.
I don't know if I'm feeling it quite like you. I'm just imagining you getting up on Sunday morning, looking in the bathroom mirror and like channeling inner Kevin Keegan. I'd love it. I fucking love it if we beat them.
Yeah, you know my Saturday morning routines and Sunday morning routines like the back of your hand, don't you, Jess?
Yeah. I'm not sure I have quite the same level of optimism. I think we've got that statement there, Greg. I think we've got enough to do them. I might be reusing that for a YouTube clip on Sunday or Monday. We'll see.
Curb Your Enthusiasm music playing afterwards maybe might work.
Yeah. Look, am I happy? I'm glad we're doing this podcast tonight and not straight after the game. I think that I needed that. We tried to record last night. It was like the bandwidth wasn't, I don't know, internet was down. It wasn't working. And I think I needed that time actually to process and reflect, because I was a bit disappointed last night. I was quite down with the performance. Now, it's away. It's in Italy. It has been a tricky team to play for other sides. We saw Leverkusen, who were amazing last year, get absolutely whooped by this team in the Europa League final. Liverpool lost to these guys last. I mean, just by the way, Liverpool fans, what the are you doing? Like, just tweet. I'm seeing like stuff all over the Twitter or X or whatever it is about like joking that we can't beat Atalanta. Like, and then there's just loads of like pictures of just like Liverpool lost 3-0 to them. So I was like, that kind of stuff just makes me laugh. It was a hard game. I expected us to beat them, to be perfectly honest with you. I expected a bit of a stronger performance. Spurs, we did the job in a professional manner in the way that I expected us to do the job against Spurs. I didn't ever think that was going to be a high-scoring game. I knew that it would be a tight game, and our mental resilience and strength won that game out. But I did expect us to go harder at Atalanta. I expected us to be more attacking. I expected us to be more on the forefront. And the main thing I'd say in my review is there's a bit of deja vu that's kicked in for me from last year, that beginning of the season. Now we're into it. I don't really feel like there's been major big standout performances in the first few games. I'm not massively overwhelmed by the way in which we're attacking. Now, I know Saka's been tired because he's played the Euros. Martinelli is not on it. We're relying on Trossard and Havertz to save us a lot of the time. We're relying on our defenders to save us a lot of the time by defenders and goalkeeper, David Raya, digging us out of many situations. And when I say relying on our defenders, I'm not just talking about their defensive performances. We'll talk about the amount of goals that they're scoring from set pieces. But I just feel like we're lacking something. And last night I was pretty down about it. I guess
you're making me down about it now, Jason.
Right, okay.
All my enthusiasm is gone already.
Look, 24 hours removed, it was a good result. They're a hard team to play. I'm not I don't want to be too down. But I do think that we have to be critical and think about where we can improve. And it's very obvious that going forward is where we need to improve. And I'm sure we'll come on to it and talk about it more.
Well, you say that. The first segment, are we Stoke? And the point that you just made is very atypical of a Stoke side that was not very great going forward, but always maybe not so bad at the back. And during this game, we emulated some of the Stoke of old, 2010, 2011, a lot of long balls, a lot of defensive resiliency, and a very toothless attack. Jace, are we Stoke?
I mean, is Arteta going to come out in a little Tony Pulis cap? He's got he's Lego head, right? Like, so maybe just like, you can just pop the head off and just put a baseball cap on.
Put a little cap on. Yeah. He wouldn't want to ruin his hair, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Although if he's taking his hair off, he doesn't have to. So,
yeah. Well, he's been wearing a lot of the Adidas gear, a lot of the tracksuits, bit of a labrum.
Maybe that's where the similarities stop then, Jace. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Look, are we Tony Pulis as Stoke? No. I mean, we're just very, very good defensively. There's no getting around that. We have the best defense, I'm going to say, in the world. I think we do. I mean, like 4 out of 5 games, clean sheets. Goalkeeper's playing out of his skin. Best 2 centre-backs in the world from a partnership perspective. I think the best centre-back in the world in Saliba. And Gabriel not far behind. I think he's the most underrated centre-back in the world. And Timber's consistent and been really impressive. We knew he was going to be. We saw it last year. It was maybe we'd have won the league last year with Timber. I don't know. I mean, we're pretty good defensively, but I wouldn't compare us to Stoke. I just think we're a very, very good defensive outlet. The difference between us and Stoke is that we have a more creative midfield and we should be scoring goals, but we're not in the moment. And that's a problem we need to fix. But there's an expectation from our fans. And Mikel needs to find a resolution to a problem that could last for, I don't know. I mean, there's no time scale on this, right? There's no time scale on some of these challenges, especially with Odegaard's injury. Like, he was laughing at the responses, and I'm like, he's so coy in his press conferences. You just don't know anything. So I don't know.
I don't think he fully wanted to let on to City and other teams, but I would estimate we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks without him. And so, to your point, we do need to find some creative solutions to that problem. And from the first 2 games without him, we haven't quite found that yet. And we talked a little bit before we started, because you were talking about how we've set up our team from a formation standpoint is somewhat different to how we would have done that with Odegaard in the team. Where do you see the differences, and what do you think that difference that's making to how our attacking play is working at the moment?
I don't know. So are we playing a 4-4-2 is the question I have. Because Havertz in theory played in the Odegaard role, right? Would you agree?
Well, I think I saw more of this maybe in Spurs than I did against Atalanta, but I saw kind of both Havertz and Trossard maybe playing together up front, and then I've seen it a little bit here where we would have the same kind of combinations. But when Jesus was playing, it was kind of more of an outright 9, so we were maybe mixing it up a little bit. I also don't think that Partey and Rice can play the same role in midfield. We always seem to have one sitting and one pushing forward. And to be honest, I feel that Rice is probably covering for Partey more, and so probably not as forthright in going forward because of the defensive duties that he's having to do to cover.
So you see the pictures of Jorginho in the oxygen tank before the game?
Yeah, we're putting him in the rehabilitation chamber, getting him ready for Man City.
Mate, he's going to be in there a lot. That's what I'm saying.
Like, I always think he's going to be like Luke Skywalker in the back to tank. So every time he gets like a game, he'll get back in there and regenerate a little bit. Yeah, because he's going to be, if Partey continues to either make the mistakes he's making, and I'm not too sure it's just mistakes he's making. For me, it just feels like he's not just quite at the pace of the game yet. Like it's like he's watching it go past him, or he's watching it in slow motion, and he feels he's got. It's like when you're playing with your mates, you just got more time on the ball, and he kind of takes his time. Then all of a sudden, someone's just picked his pocket, and he's like, "What? How did that happen?"
He still has moments of brilliance, and there's a lot of defenders of him on the social media of Partey, and you look at some of his stats and stuff, and like everyone's like, people don't see the real performances in the stats, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, he's got some good stats, but did you just watch what I just saw? That's fucking awful. Sorry, I swear I shouldn't swear. But I just wow me up. Like, it just like there was a couple of times, like there's a couple of times this season consistently in each game he gives the ball away a few times in each game unnecessarily. There's one point when we had a chance to kind of, Atalanta were breaking out, we managed to get the ball and we could have kind of recountered in a good attacking position. He just gave the ball away, and it just frustrated me. The penalty situation, everyone's like, oh, it's a soft one. I don't give a shit whether it's a soft one. So I'm swearing again. You can tell how annoyed I am by it. Don't pull the guy. If he's gone round you and you are anywhere near that box, do not pull the guy. You pulled him, and then you clipped him. Like, it's a soft.
And then you're like, you'll get the ref to ask the question, aren't you? Like you say, like
you still got beat. So it's just like, what happens to standing strong? What happens to, I don't know. Like, I don't know if his legs are gone. I just, this season, he's been one of the there's two things that have kind of wound me up this season. He is two players in particular, and he's one of them. Jorginho is going to play a lot of games.
I would say for me, for Partey, like You're right. He can't run. He's not strong enough. He can't really defend. His legs feel like they've gone. The only saving grace, and I'm not going to go to bat for him and defend him too much. He can break a pass. And you saw it a few times during this game. And it feels like in the absence of a Martin Odegaard, he is one of the players that can carve a pass out.
Jorginho can too, though. Do you remember that pass he did last season? Cut through, I can't remember who it was. It was at home at the Emirates. He found it. I had to dig it out. It was an amazing.
But it's like, I suppose they're few and further between for him, right? I would say the party makes those passes 5-6 times a game, and Arteta has a lot of faith in him for whatever reason. Like, we know that he obviously likes him because he starts more often than he doesn't.
Yeah, but as I said, I think that there's tactical reasons, though. I think there's genuine tactical reasons why he started, and that's because Jorginho, at his age, he needed a longer rest after the Euros. If Rodri's having a long rest, and he did, then Jorginho needs a longer rest given his age. And I genuinely think the fact that he started and played the whole game against Spurs, and then he got some minutes but was genuinely rested last night, tells me that we are just easing Jorginho back into a role which is going to require him. We refused to sell him, right? There was offers coming in for him after our transfer window, because the Turkish transfer window is later, and we said no. So I think fundamentally we need him. Sooner Marino comes back, the better. That's going to be important. I'm guessing he'll be back before Odegaard now, but yeah.
Well, let's maybe talk about something that's a bit more positive from the comparisons to Stoke. Is our defense, like you said, has been great, and particularly David Raya. Like, let's just talk about the penalty, because it's worth remembering, at least giving something that's memorable and good to focus on. Is it? I've seen some comparisons. I don't think it's as good as. I'll ask you the question. Where do you think it compares to that David Seaman save?
I don't think it was quite as good as the David Seaman save. I mean, at the end of the day, the Atalanta player could have scored, put the ball anywhere for the rebound, and he didn't. So really, Raya had nothing to do with it. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I nibs hard there, Jason. Nibs hard there.
Yeah, no, he. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter where the player puts it. If he puts it down the middle, if he puts it to the far left, like you still have to get up from the rebound and get to it, and he did. So his reflexes, his ability and agility to move his body quickly, superb. I mean, it's exactly the same. I don't see much difference between that and the Villa save, to be perfectly honest. Like the double save at Villa. Same thing again, right? The ability to get yourself back up the ground, dive. Doesn't matter whether, you still got to save it after it's in. And he did. I mean, I messaged you.
I like to count. Yeah, I like to count the seconds now between when Raya makes any save and Jace texts me going, "That's another 2 points saved." And it was about 13 seconds this time. It was, it wasn't a lot of time, put it that way.
And that's because my stream, or like the way I watch
it, probably behind. Yeah,
bit slow about so it would have been sooner. Yeah, no, he's superb. Best keeper in the league, like this season, without question. I think possibly best keeper in the league last season. Just, a lot of people don't rate him. He's not got the price tag of an Edison.
Alisson. I'd even say we talked about this last year. We were like, he hadn't made those saves yet, those memorable moments, and already 5 games in this season, you can recall 3 already that have been defining moments for our season and points saved that we wouldn't have had, worth his weight in gold, and an absolute a masterclass in negotiations. Having that loan, buying him for the price that we bought him for, an incredible piece of business on our behalf, because getting his type of keeper in today's world is challenging, expensive, and very few and far between. So yeah, really, really good business there.
Yeah, Yeah, he's earned his wages already this year. I mean, anything else he does is a bonus.
If you can score a goal, that'd be great. Maybe we'll ask him to do that next.
Yeah, why not?
We talked a little bit about this. So the next segment is I called it No Showdegaard, because without Odegaard, there's no show. I don't know, it's really pants. Look, we talked a little bit about it already, and it's obvious, clear as day to anybody watching that we miss him incredibly in a variety of different forms, in the way Arsenal play, in our creative outlet, in our spark, in the way we go forward. What do you think, though, Jace? Is it just his passing creativity ability that we're missing, or is there something else that we're missing from him not being in this side that is now meaning we can't score?
Movement as well. There's a lot of in his movement, his pressing as well. There's just a few different things that we're missing, but the vision is the main thing. Like, let's be honest, it's the vision. We don't have another player like that. I mean, Ranieri's not been given an opportunity yet to showcase that. And we assumed that he was 100% the backup, right? I mean, because we didn't bring anyone else in, and we gave away all of the other players that can do that.
I want to ask the question because I've seen a lot of talk about this. Obviously, like we loaned out Vieira, and Vieira is probably the closest we have to that type of player. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I wouldn't care if Vieira was here. I'd still be feeling the exact same way that I feel right now.
Yeah, because he wasn't good enough.
The same. Yeah, well, precisely. So I don't know why anyone's bringing it up. Like, I would feel more confident Nyanweri playing than Vieira.
Well, me too, and that's why I would play him. I would have played him like last night.
Again, though, do you not think it's a big, like, we're playing Bolton next week, and that is, if he doesn't play there, then we can start calling for Arteta's head a little bit more, because that is the prime, and Leicester following again. If he performs against Bolton, can do the role, shows his metal, then he should start that game too. But I get what you're saying. You could have here away in Italy, first Champions League game after Spurs against City coming up. There's a lot of arguments to say it's not the place to do it.
He starts against Man City. That's not a prediction.
Never gonna happen.
Look, if you're in that squad, you should be trusted by Arteta, and that means you should be good enough to start a number of games. And regardless of whether we're playing Bolton or not next week, he should be given the opportunity to even come off the bench a bit more frequently. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem. I don't know how we fill the void. Havertz played in that role. I don't think he is a like-for-like replacement. He is an attacking midfielder and a striker, more foremost a forward. Trossard has shown a little bit of magic. He's probably the best option we have to fill in that kind of position, because he does have a pass. He does have a bit of vision about him, but he's also a forward. We're just lacking in there, and I think this is why I said, like, does 4-4-2 work better? Like, would we be better with Bryce, Jorginho in the midfield against City, Saka and Sterling?
But this is where you were kind of getting onto the conversation, because that's one bit we not talked about.
Yeah, we'll come on to that conversation, and then I reckon you could play Havertz up front with Jesus more dynamically. And I think knockdowns and like kind of like a Griezmann, Giroud style combination, right? Big guy, small guy kind of works. Yeah. That might be something that I think would work better. I mean, attacking threat, because we don't have any attacking threat. But if we don't have a visionary, a passer, someone threading the holes, we need to try something different in how we attack. And a Giroud kind of style knockdown, that's a different way of attacking, and we have the people to do it. So, see any other?
Yeah. I mean, we're not potent up front, so you're right. We probably do need to. Whether or not I'll let you talk about the left side. I'll talk about Jesus quickly then, because you mentioned him there, and I would say I get what you're saying. It's so incredibly funny to look at this player coming from. I remember the first game that he played. I think we were there, and it was like Messi, like reborn or something. It was incredible. He was like an absolute like dog around the pitch, just chasing after every ball. He was making things happen. He scored. He had the bit between his teeth. It was incredible, and the regression from that player to where he is now. I know there's injuries, and he's always had a bit of a record with injuries, and so Jesus has just felt not the same player. I am so frustrated how many times he's found offside. Like, as a striker's job, just stay on side, like bend your runs, stay on the line. Like, I don't understand how you keep doing it. And then even when he does get on side, there was one ball, it might have been Trossard, who played an incredibly good through ball. And if Jesus had the pace, he would have got there. But he basically just got like lost in his feet, and he was kind of like, "Oh, where's the ball?" And was then just got like trapped underneath him. And it's just like all of his football prowess is like gone. I've just got no faith and no want to see him play up front at the moment. And so I know you're saying 4-4-2. Like, Havertz is night and day to me. Havertz is the striker that we need. We should be playing. And I know that the injuries is making Havertz play in a deeper role than maybe we would have liked him to, and that's kind of what's happening, which is fair enough. Like, needs must on these occasions. But I've got no drive, ambition, or want to keep seeing Jesus playing up top at the moment. He's just not where he needs to be, and I'm sure maybe you're going to say the same about a certain left winger.
Yeah, I mean, this would be the third podcast probably on the trot, maybe fourth. I'm talking about Martinelli again. Like, I feel like it's like berating a child. Like, it feels very harsh. But I mean, I want to just tell the guy, breathe, calm, like, just relax a little bit, because it feels like he rushes everything. Like last night, Sterling put him through. It was I mean,
it's not a great chance, is it? Really?
I don't know if it just a little dink over the, like, if you saw Trossard in that position, give Trossard the ball in the same way, does he smash it miles over the bar?
He did the target.
He'd dink it, right? He's got that little kind of like where he does the keeper with a dink. Like Martinelli, he just doesn't have the same finishing ability. Like, his finishing has been so below par this season. He has shown bursts of pace like he used to. He has started in the last couple of games to take players on. That Spurs game, I saw a lot of people saying he was really good and like was showing glimpses of his old self. And I was like, yeah, he did show getting to the byline, pace through the middle, making run. That was great. But the problem is he still needs end product. You need to finish off those moves, and he's just failing to do that. And as you say, maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe the goal needs to come and it will open the floodgates. But he's not doing it for us. And, we have been winning games 1-0. We have been low-scoring games, winning the game by the odd goal. As I said, feels very deja vu, because we were doing that last year, at least till Christmas, and then after Christmas we just went 5s and 6s all over the place. But this first half of the year, it's feeling very, very similar, and it's those 1 or 2 odd chances and the odd goals that are a difference between a draw and 3 points. First Champions League game, you can kind of let it slide because we've got 7 more opportunities to get into the top 8 and qualify and do everything we need to do. But it's got to improve. And I mean, I'm already kind of, as I said, last podcast, cutthroat time. Like, I want to give Sterling a run out now. Give him some actual, like, stop bringing them on for 15, 20 minutes in hard, dead rubber games, and give him 60, 70, 80. Give him a game. Give him an opportunity. Because he's got something to prove. and he can play on the left.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him rolling him out in front of City, but maybe there is a bit there where you could argue that you've got a point to prove. I know it's been a while since he was at City, but maybe there's an element of that could come into play potentially.
He was a thorn in their side for Chelsea, wasn't he, last year, if I'm right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I mean, the fact that Martinelli hasn't got any return on investment, I think in like 17 games or something like that, it's been a long time. It's simply not good enough for a team fighting for the league. I think we said that on the last pod. You asked me the question: Does he feature in a starting 11 or XI, as you put it? Jay, got absolutely roasted in the comments.
That one guy was brutal.
I actually got berated in the comments. I love it. If you want to do more of that, feel free. By the way, love it. Martinelli. If it's Trossard, if it's Sterling, I wouldn't be surprised to see Trossard, put it that way. But the problem is, and the reason why you said it's like berating your child a little bit, because you want him to do well.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. It's the same with Saka. No, whenever Saka drops a 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 performance, everyone's a bit more guarded on their jumping to the opportunity to go into him. I know rival fans will jump at the opportunity to go in on him, but we're kind of a bit more protective of Saka to some point. And maybe some of that mask is slipping a little bit with Martinelli because patience is running out quickly. And if we're not seeing it, like I said, I like you. I think he just needs a goal. He just needs something to bring his confidence back in, to get his head up, to get him out of his. He's probably a bit in his head at the moment. It's a bit of a mental block rather than a physical one. And I'm hoping he comes out of it soon, because if he doesn't, it could spell problems. Luckily, we've got. If this was Saka, we'd be having a bigger problem, because we don't necessarily have an embarrassment of riches like we do on the left side, as we don't on the right.
Got Raheem Sterling, mate.
Yeah, embarrassment is maybe loose term. I was going to say, just before we move on from this game, like I know that one of the things I think is quite obvious from the lack of Odegaard, like our stats in this game were abhorrent. Were our progressive passes? Like I don't think anybody made more than 4. We had 2 shots on target. We got outplayed. We had less possession. We had less passes over the park. It might not have felt like we were outplayed, but it certainly statistically comes across that way. And again, like against Spurs, we weren't great against Spurs. We didn't need to be necessarily. We weren't great here, and we were kind of fortunate that David Raya saved our blushes a little bit, because if he hadn't have, we would have lost this game.
Yeah. I think so.
So, we've got to. I looked at this game a little bit as preparation for City, and we're going to talk about that next. But I kind of said I suspected it was. I text you, I think, because this was a strong starting lineup for this match. I didn't think we would go that strong, and I think Arteta was using that as this is what we're going to line up for City, and I want the team to keep up the repeating patterns of play. So let's see. I wanted to move on. Let's talk about City, because I wrote down, is it a must-win game? And I read somewhere online it was a good, because there's been a lot of kind of saying that we have to win this game. And someone went back through and had a look at some of the old games where second place, did they have to beat first place to win the league? Or did first place have to beat second place to win the league? And it's not always the case. Actually, it's far often more than not where it's a loser or a draw, and they still win the league. So statistically speaking, it doesn't have to be a must-win. I'm asking you the question though, Jace, because is it mentally, physically a game that we must win?
I don't think it is. We've beaten City at home last year. We drew away. We've beaten pretty much every team in the top 6. We've kind of put that whole thing a long time ago to bed about beating top 6. Do you remember we couldn't beat a top 6 game team, and it was always that's all.
Every time we were playing Liverpool, me and you would just be like, "Well, this is going to be an absolute pasting," and we just know.
Yeah. So all of that stuff's gone. It's gone a few years ago now. It's all been put to bed. So I don't think we need to beat City. I think from the morale, giving a convincing win against City wouldn't do us any harm. Maybe it would help open the floodgates that need to open in regards of goals. And we didn't lose the league by drawing away at City last season. We lost the league by beat twice by Aston Villa, losing to Fulham and West Ham over Christmas. So that's not where we lost the league.
But to reverse it though, Jace, could it have been where we won the league?
Yeah, obviously, if you win away, then those 2 points are 2 less on City and 2 more on us, and we win the league. So yeah, in theory, but you could say that about any draw or any, you can't tell. You're not going to know the answer to that until the end of the season when you evaluate all. You can then go and and scrutinize every individual little fixture, right? And every little point drops, and you can say that's where we won the league. There'll be a few of those. So, whether we win, draw, or lose against City at the weekend, that won't be the only thing where we either have won or lost the league. I think. So that's my answer to your question. I think in short, we've already done 2 dress rehearsals for City. Last 2 games have been 2 dress rehearsals. There isn't going to be major surprises. We know exactly how we're going to play against City. Only because we did it as well in the Community Shield last year against City. We saw it. We saw it away at City. We even saw it at home against City because Martinelli got that goal quite late. That's the last goal I remember Mane scoring. That's how long ago that was. We know what's going to happen. We know how we're going to play.
Yeah, I was talking about this because it feels a bit like another chess game. It kind of feels a little bit like we cancel each other out. And the one thing I will say is, though, I do feel there are further facets to Arteta that have yet to be unveiled or discovered. He is already showing some ability to learn and carve his own path through management that is not necessarily just a Pep understudy or a Pep Mark II. We're already seeing differences in how he approaches games, how he sets up teams. Not to say that this is a game where I think that will be something that happens or comes out. I think this is going to be a tense battle. It's going to be close. I said to a friend at work, he's like, big game this weekend. I said, yeah, it's going to be massive, 0-0. I think it's going to be incredibly tight, and it's going to be really fine margins. And I'll tell you one thing, like every fucking time, De Bruyne is playing, and he's obviously going to play. And I absolutely hate that every time they do this song and dance. Oh no, he's had to come off. Will he play? It's been he only trained for 30 seconds. Oh, and then he turns up as Prime Iniesta or whatever whenever he plays. It's just frankly so frustrating, and I'd rather them just go out. I get why they do it. It's the same with Arteta with Odegaard. I'm not gonna peek behind the curtain and unveil all my secrets. It's just so annoying.
So you think De Bruyne is playing?
Yeah. 100%.
Do you think Odegaard's playing?
No, 0%. Odegaard's definitely not. Odegaard's definitely out. There was always, a lot of, what Arsenal fans are like. Even some of the team, the social media PR comes out and talks about how sleuthing we are in terms of our sleuthing and our spying. The football in front of our Odegaard's left foot to mask what potentially could be a boot on his foot is hilarious. It's just the mental math that Arsenal fans do when it comes to anything to do with our club, with transfers, with injuries, is commendable. I love it. But I think he's out for a while.
Yeah, I don't think there was a boot on his foot though.
I know, but it's funny to think that that's probably where people's heads go.
Yeah.
Give me a prediction that's not 3-1.
1-1. Don't know. It's very difficult. I mean, I obviously want to go with an Arsenal win. So if it's going to be anything, it'll probably be a 1-0. Gabriel header. Saliba header. That's what I'm predicting. 1-0.
Are you after this catharsism, this therapy session, whatever you'd like to call it, Jace? Do you feel more or less confident than when you started?
I feel indifferent.
I'm glad it was useful.
How about you? What do you think is going to happen then?
No, I'm like you. I genuinely think it's going to be 0-0. And I think I was saying this to someone in the week because I said, when we play, it's horrible for neutrals. It's not the spectacle. When Liverpool and Man City used to play,
That was
it was like a spectacle. There was going to be goals. It was going to be end to end. It was going to be Hollywood. It was going to be good. And when we play, it feels like it's such a tactical battle. It's such a tense rivalry between master and apprentice. There's all of that, and it is just a bit of a nothingness. Obviously, to those in it, us and City fans, it is incredibly important, incredibly meaningful, and will shape. Arsenal fans, like you say, we've dissected and deliberated and probably way too considered over the past few days of all the things that have happened in the Arsenal sphere, whether it's Showdegaard's injury, the win against Spurs, and the draw against Atalanta. We have gone into far too much detail than any other fans probably ever do or could or would. And we're going to do that again when we face City, and that's part of the joys and not of being an Arsenal fan. I just think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be tactical. I think it's going to be tense. I just don't think it's going to be exciting. You're going to be standing up and you're going to be hating it, I think.
I remember sat watching the last game. Was it probably? I think it must have been about March, Easter time. And I was sat on a balcony in Nice, looking over the ocean, the Côte d'Azur, thinking this is shit. It was such a crap game. I think we had one chance to score early on, and we should have taken it, and we didn't. And then it was a dead.
It's the thing, because we do rue a lot of those chances, and there have been games where when we haven't taken our moments, it just doesn't happen. And we've talked a lot in the past about games where you just know in your head and in your heart that it's just not going to be one of those days. You're just not going to get it. Sometimes the luck's against you, sometimes it's with you. Let's just hope the gods are shining down on us on Sunday. De Bruyne has managed to keep his injury intact and stay away from the field. Odegaard somehow miraculously gets some magic spray on his ankle and starts. Who knows? The world is our oyster.
Healing powers.
Yeah, I'm going to give it straight through the screen, Jess.
Yeah.
Right. At least I'm feeling a little bit more confident. So hopefully some of our viewers, some of our listeners might be feeling a little bit confident or not. It's entirely up to you, but hopefully you enjoyed this therapy session, as I called it, ahead of Arsenal's journey to Man City this weekend after drawing with Atalanta in Italy in the Champions League. We've been your hosts, Greg and Jace. Jace, what do we want our audience to do for us in our social channels, in our YouTube and our Spotify? What do we need them to do?
YouTube, subscribe. We're on our way to 100.
Almost there. Get in there.
Yeah. Leave a like, subscribe, leave comments. We'll engage with you. Any questions, as always, chuck them out there. Podcast provider of choice, Apple, Spotify. We're on all of them. Rating 5-star would be lovely if you've enjoyed this. And again, leave us a comment. Make sure you subscribe, and the latest episode will be in your account.
Lovely stuff. And we'll be back, like I said, on Sunday to hopefully dissect what would be the game that takes us to the top of the league. Until then, have an enjoyable evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
Come on, you Red